Hi, today I want to talk about the January-February issue of Analog Science Fiction and Fact magazine. I recently finished reading this, so I want to tell you about some of the stories and columns in here, the ones I liked. If you're a fan of science fiction, you may want to check these stories or authors out, or the magazine itself. Let's start with Stanley Schmidt's guest editorial, which talks about how a lot of technology is changing faster than laws can keep up with it. It's very persuasively written, and it helps that I happen to agree with most of what he says. He starts by comparing the horses and carriages people used in the 18th century to modern cars screaming down the highway at 70 miles an hour, then goes on to discuss internet communication and assault weapons. He closes with a really great quote from Thomas Jefferson. I am not an advocate for frequent changes in laws and constitutions, but laws and institutions must go hand in hand with the progress of the human mind. As that becomes more developed, more enlightened, as new discoveries are made, new truths uncovered, and manners and opinions change, with the change of circumstances, institutions must advance also to keep pace with the times. We might as well require a man to wear still the coat which fitted him as a boy, as civilized society to remain ever under the regimen of their barbarous ancestors. The Science Fact article is by Douglas Deluzin, Ph.D., and it's on epigenetics, which is the regulatory functions that govern when and where a given gene is expressed in the body, like how the cells in your heart don't express genes that make your brain work, and vice versa. He examines this through the lens of some science fiction works that deal with it, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, Paolo Bagucci-Golpi's Wind-Up Girl, and Neal Stephens's Seven Eves, exploring how likely those futures of genetic and epigenetic manipulation may be. John G. Kramer's alternate view explores whether humans are too frail to survive in deep space. Short answer, yes. He talks about things like the rotation speed needed to create gravity on, say, a deep space vessel, and how to deal with the unchecked radiation levels in deep space. So on to the stories. First, I want to mention Tom Jolly's novelette, Ringwave. As a meteor hits the Earth, survivors ride escape pods into space on the impact. Our main character is a resourceful woman with an engineering degree. She ascertains that her pod survived the trip into space, and then, while out trying to find other survivors, or anything really, she comes upon some bad guys. Space pirates! Out to look for themselves, they've been killing people to steal their pod's supplies. The story is well written and really captures the isolation of being a sole survivor lost in space. Next up, a message from our sponsor by J.T. Shera. Advertising is everywhere, on vid screens in people's homes. Its omnipresence is protected by the First Amendment. Then advertisers start putting ads in people's dreams. It reminded me of the Black Mirror episode 15 Million Credits, particularly the way everybody's rooms had screens that took up their entire walls, forcing them to watch ads. Except in this story, people couldn't pay to skip or silence them. Tell yourself it's an entirely implausible scenario as you X out of ads that you see on Facebook or while playing games on your phone. The Last Squirrel Keeper by Shane Halbach was a fun one. An old man, the last human on an alien world, wonders if it's worth trying to connect with the aliens. It's a pretty heartwarming tale. Applied Linguistics by Austin Habershaw is a fun story of an alien captive on a prison world. I always enjoy reading stories with non-human characters. This one had a nice twist ending, too. Reboot by Robert Reed is a fun little tale about two AIs discussing the end of the world, how likely it is, if at all. Fingers by Frederick Heimbach, is a nice creepy story about an unstoppable infestation. And the novella is The Savannah Problem by Adam Troy Castro. It's the fifth story involving retired operative Draken. I was so happy when I saw this was going to be in this issue. I've read all the Draken stories and loved the heck out of them. This one, as the others, was well written and engaging, moving Draken's story forward. Honestly, as I was reading it, I thought it might be the last one. There were a lot of callbacks to events and characters from earlier stories, which is sometimes a clue. Thankfully, it's not, and I hope that Castro won't finish with Draken anytime soon. Oh, and check this out. So I can get it up on there. That's the wrong one. Damn it. Sorry. They printed my letter! I thought that's so cool. They printed my letter in the letter column. Lastly, this issue features their AnLab, or Analytical Laboratory Ballot, which gives you the chance to vote on the top 3 novellas, novelettes, short stories, science fact articles, covers, and poems of 2018. Here are my choices. A Stab of the, for novellas, A Stab of the Knife and Blurred Lives by Adam Troy Castro. Those are two Draken stories. And then Harry and the Lewises by Edward M. Lerner. Novelettes, I went with Lab B-15 by Nick Wolven, Trapezium by Troy Ballantyne, Mixie Poxy Learns to Drive by Joyce and Stanley Schmidt. Short stories, It Came from the Coffee Maker by Martin L. Shoemaker, The Unnecessary Parts of the Story, also by Adam Troy Castro, and The Seven Most Massive Historical Mistakes in Gunmaster of the Car Lords by Eric Stone. Science fact articles, I chose Alien Biochemistry by Jay Werkheiser, Taming the Genie by C. Stuart Hardwick, and In Defense of the Planet by Marianne J. Dyson. For poems, I chose Engineered by Bruce McAllister, Past Pluto by Eric Pinder, and Wife of a Particle Physicist by Bruce Boston. I didn't really have any cover recommendations because, honestly, I never pay much attention to the covers. I just like to read the stories. Well, that's all I have. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.